welcome back to my channel. My name is Safa. Today I'm going to be giving you my August wrap-up. So this month I read a total of 5 books, some pretty great reads, some not so great reads. And I'm just going to share with you my thoughts and opinions and general ratings of them. So the very first book I read was the best one by far, A Man Called Ove by Frederick Backman. I rated this book 4.75 out of 5 stars. Amazing, amazing read. It is definitely one of my all-time favorite books, and here's why. So basically we follow our main character Ove, who is an old man who is very much set in his ways. He lives in the past, he lost his purpose in life. He's very much the Grinch type of character. Now, what we see is that because he's very grumpy and closed-minded to the ways of current modern society, people come into his life who cause all sorts of chaos and mayhem, specifically his neighbors. And it just flips his world upside down. But what's so gravitating about this book is just his character arc, from starting from a grumpy, very closed-minded person to going from a charismatic, very gentle, and very open-minded person. And that's just so captivating to read because it's so emotional at times, and it's so heartwarming to just read about his changes and just how people around him are impacted and how the people around him impact him. It's less than 300 pages. It's relatively short, so you could really read this really quickly. I think everyone can read this book and find something amazing about this. Just definitely check out the trick warnings, but highly, highly recommend. Okay, the second book I read this month was The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. It was an incredible read. It is her debut adult fantasy trilogy series called the Sansi Trilogy. So basically we have Luli, who is one of our main characters. She is responsible for dealing illegal magic relics. One day the Sultan kind of blackmails her, saying, you know what, you gotta go find me a magic lamp or else you're gonna die. Because he can do that. He's a sultan. So basically this story has a lot of adventure, a lot of storytelling, and like I said, it's very much inspired by Arab mythology, so you really get that unique atmosphere and world building that a lot of other fantasy books just don't have. And I find it such a unique and compelling read. And it's just something so amazing because the characters themselves are quite relatable. I find the story itself is written really, really well. There's a lot of seamless transitions. The writing is great, fast-paced, a little plot-driven. Character development doesn't happen as much in this book as I would like it to, but you know what? That's fine because it could happen later on in the series. But I think for a debut novel, that's a pretty solid read if you ask me. Highly recommend. So the third book I read this month was Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. It is the second book of the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology series. So thank you so much to HarperCollins and NetGalley for gifting me the advanced reader's copy. The second book, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The first book, I gave it 4, actually. Here's why there's a big difference. A lot of the issues in the first book were magnified, I found, in the second book, in terms of too much plot going on. Very, very fast-paced. Rushing the major scenes that just should have just been given a lot more detail and time. Like I said, it's very unique, the whole atmosphere of the story, because it's inspired by Chinese mythology, which I find is something completely unique in the whole genre, because you rarely see books like that are very flowery, pretty, and actually inspired by real stories or mythology, which is good. I like that. However, the whole issue with the pacing just destroyed all that because you couldn't enjoy the whole idea of it because it's rushed the entire time. Other issues I found was actually the main character herself, Xing Yin. Yeah, she was the most indecisive person in this book. I swear it is the most aggravating thing to read about her in this love triangle. Because in the first book, you know, it was angsty, there was tension. It was just everything you would want to read about in a love triangle. In the second book, you would expect it to be resolved at some point. And it did at the very, very end. But she was just so indecisive and flip-flopping between who she wanted at one point, and then she's like, oh, but wait, this person does this, and I'm like, oh, like, just stop. Stop. You are causing too much chaos in this book based on your indecisiveness. You need to stop. And for me, I did not like the way this book ended personally, simply because it was just wrong. It's not necessarily who she chose that I have an issue with, it's the way she went about it. Other than that, I found, you know, the characters, they had good development moments. There was a redemption arc for one of them, and the overall plot of the story disregarding the pacing of it, was actually decently done. I like the way it was went about. So that is Heart of the Sun Warrior. Okay, the fourth book I read was The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. It was not my book. It was my cousin's book because she was reading it for her project or whatever. It was kind of funny because I was like, okay, yeah, I'll read it. It's like less than 200 pages. Relatively quick read. It's basically similar to the whole idea behind the musical or play Grease because it follows the rival gangs of the Greasers and the other gang. I don't remember what they're called, but it's basically about them. And we have our main character, Ponyboy, who is a member of the Greasers. And you kind of just see how he experiences life and how being a part of this gang really impacts him and the people around him. And I feel like just following his story is something just fun, very lighthearted. It's something to chill. I wouldn't say it's anything profound. I gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's nothing amazing. Like, would I buy it and keep it on my shelf? No, I wouldn't. But I'm glad I read it. It is what it is. I thought it was fine. The final book I read this month was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Can you believe it? I even tabbed and wrote in the book. Hold on. Like, look at this. Try not to spoil yourself. But I've written in a book. Basically, Cinder is like a Cinderella retelling following our main character. As the name implies, Cinder. She is a cyborg and also known as a mechanic, and is basically set in the world of New Beijing, which is like a futuristic sci-fi fantasy version of our modern day age. Anyway, basically Cinder herself kind of gets intertwined within the Prince Kai's life, trying to help him out, and we just see their story kind of like throughout this book because obviously it's a retelling. My thing about this is that I thought it was a great read. 4.5 out of 5 stars. My thing about this is that I would have absolutely loved this book in high school just because it's tropey, it's, you know, romancy, it's cute, it's everything you would want in that kind of age group. And just for me right now, because I've read a lot of bigger and better things, quite frankly, it just seemed subpar in comparison. But I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm just saying I'm probably not the right target audience for it at the time. But I think it's fine for what it was. I thought it was fast pacing. It made sense. There was interesting plot moments. I like Cinder's character. It was unique, something different and refreshing. For me, it's just the whole sci-fi thing I'm just not typically gravitated towards, but it's different. I'm open towards it. I'm just not someone who's like, you know, super ready to read some of those books. But that's just that. I thought that this book was a standalone, and I was wrong about this. It is actually a series. Like, I know it's called The Lunar Chronicles, but like, I thought that it would be like a standalone for each pair in each book. Cause like, it just made sense that way. But apparently not. It's like a whole series. But okay, whatever. You know, it is what it is. The mother makes me want to kill her, but whatever. Cinder's the main character here. We'll pay attention to her. Anyway, that's kind of it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what books you read this month and how many.